Give the floor to the representative of the Syrian Arab Republic.
شكرا السيد الرئيس.
Thank you, Madam President. We have been drawing the attention of the members of the Security Council for several years that all attempts to change the contents and references regarding the item on the agenda relating to the Middle East is very dangerous. Some have tried to make sure that this item doesn't focus on the main topic that we are discussing here, and that is the numerous violations by Israel of various resolutions and its refusal to withdraw from occupied Arab territories and return to the pre-4th of June 1967 borders. But what is really worrying to us is that the representative of the Secretary General has taken this path as well, and it's not the first time that he has exceeded his mandate, and he has preferred not to mention the issue of the occupied Syrian Golan intentionally, even though this is part of the agenda and is part and parcel of the mandate of Mr. Mladenov as the special coordinator of the peace process in the Middle East. We have pointed this out to Mr. Mladenov several times. We have said that this method that he's using when he makes presentations to the Security Council was unacceptable because it disregards the situation in the occupied Syrian Golan. Madam President, my country would like to repeat its position, which is unchanged, regarding the support that should be provided to the Palestinian people for self-determination and for the creation of an independent state on all of their territory, as well as the rights of Palestinian refugees to the right of return, according to Resolution 194 of 1948, which also enshrines the right of the Palestinian people to have Jerusalem as their capital. However, it's a very dubious silence that we meet here in the Council regarding Israeli policies and practices. This is what has encouraged Israel to continue its practice of occupation and settlement building. It's also why Israel has violated the plan of disengagement regarding the Golan and all issues related to combating terrorism. It's also why this is why Israel has offered its support to various armed terrorist groups, in particular on the Syrian Golan, in particular the Al-Nusra Front. This is a group that the United Nations considers as a terrorist group. Well, this group actually receives assistance from Israel. So Israel has facilitated the movement of these terrorist groups through the line of demarcation line, and as a result of that, these groups have threatened the Syrian people, and it's the Qatari regime also that has offered its support to these groups. Israel has not contented itself with offering support to these groups, but in fact, it has also tried to violate Syrian airspace and to attack Syria. This took place on the 17th of March of this year in Palmyra. Indeed, Israel provided its assistance to Daesh, which was present in the area just then. All this clearly shows that Israel and terrorism are the two sides of the same coin. When we say that Israel and terrorism are indeed the two faces of the same coin, well, we need to recall that the history of Zionism itself is a history of terrorism. The goal is to kill and to violate the rights of others and to base itself on a legend of a religious state, which in fact is against all international laws. In fact, it's a state that doesn't respect freedom, justice, or any principle. When we put questions to the Israeli delegate on terrorism in the Middle East, well, we expect replies. And in fact, what happens is that we always get answers that are misleading or lead us away from the main issues at stake. The fact that a state that creates millions of refugees cannot speak of democracy, does not have the right to speak of human values, does not have the right to speak like this, even though it is responsible for chaos, for the spread of weapons of mass destruction. When this entity itself continues to to distort history, to rob territory, to perpetrate massacres against Arab peoples who live under occupation. In fact, we see that this state has an arsenal of nuclear, biological, and chemical weapons, and it is protected by the member states of the Security Council. Even as we have tried to create a nuclear weapons-free zone in the Middle East, the world cannot disregard the fact that it is on the basis of the Balfour Declaration that this entity was created, and this has had a serious impact on the history of humankind. In fact, a racist entity that excludes everyone else and that is based on an extremist religious ideology continues to operate in the region, which in many ways is hardly different from the methods used by Daesh. We insist on Syrian sovereignty on the occupied Golan based on the 4th of June 1967 borders. This is a right that is not subject to discussion. It is an inalienable right, and we cannot make any concessions on this. Our right on this has been violated, and we have to make sure that this territory returns to its rightful owners. We have to call on Israel to free Sekti al-Makt, who we call him the Syrian Mandela, and others who are in Israeli prisons, who are in Israeli prisons for simply for taking pictures, taking photos that prove that Israel is cooperating with the al-Nusra Front on the occupied Syrian Golan. These photos were taken. This is why the two Syrian individuals were arrested by Israel. Thank you very much.
I acknowledge the statement of the representative of the Syrian Arab Republic.